What's up guys, Michael from Halfway Back with a brand new video. Today I'm going to be doing something that I've wanted to do for a while, and now is the perfect time to do it. I'm going to be doing a fucking tier list, baby. Let's go. If you don't know, recently they did like a re-release of every single Spider-Man movie in theaters from like the original Tobey Maguire one all the way up until No Way Home. So I was like, you know what? I'm kind of down for that. I'm kind of down to see a couple re-releases. So I bought tickets to every single one and I watched every single movie again, and while I was watching them, that's when I got the idea of it'd be kind of fun at the end of this to maybe do a little bit of a tier list just to see like where I would rank these movies. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes doing like a standard list is just way too difficult. There are movies, especially Spider-Man movies, that I would put like on the same level, but like not really like rank. Like there are certain movies I feel the same. Like I wouldn't necessarily put one above the other. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do a tier list. I feel like doing a tier list is like the perfect alternative to that. And yeah, we can record it. So I mean, yeah, let's just jump into it. We're starting off with the OG Spider-Man movie, and right off the bat, just gonna say that goes straight up here, right into the S tier. Great movie, 10 out of 10, fucking banger of a movie. Rewatching it on the big screen was honestly really cool to me. Spider-Man is the first superhero movie that I have ever seen, and I was obsessed with it growing up. Like I remember watching that on VHS all of the time, and it still to this day is one of my favorite movies of all time. I just feel like it's such a perfect superhero movie. It's such a perfect like origin story movie. I hate origin story movies now, to be honest, just because it's the same thing every single time, and I feel like for a majority of the movie, I'm just waiting around for them to become the superhero. Like I just don't care about seeing like their alter ego and seeing like how they got their powers and how they became who they are. Like I don't give a shit about that. I really don't. Just drop me straight into the action. But I do feel like Spider-Man 1 does origin story the best. They really like pick up the pacing also. They're not really like dicking around half the time. Like they kind of jump into it pretty ASAP, and it's just, to me, like it's the perfect way to do an origin story. And honestly, to this day, I don't think any other superhero movie besides like Iron Man 1, I guess, has done an origin story as well as the first Spider-Man movie. On to the next one, Spider-Man 2. This is where I already know people are gonna be upset with me, because Spider-Man 2 is consistently regarded as the best superhero movie of all time. And I love Spider-Man 2. Do not get me wrong. I love Spider-Man 2. I'm going to put it in A though. The reason why, I already know people are going to be really mad about that. But before I get into it, it's still a good fucking score. All right. It's not like I'm shitting on Spider-Man 2. It's not like I'm saying Spider-Man 2 is a bad movie. I honestly probably would put it on S tier if I was ranking all superhero movies, but you know, I'm only looking at Spider-Man right now, so eat my ass. The thing about Spider-Man 2 though is, as much as I love it, honestly, I didn't have as much of a connection with it growing up. I watched it all the time. I remember being in kindergarten and playing Spider-Man 2 on the playground. I have memories, and I love Spider-Man 2, and it is one of my favorite superhero movies. But I think the amount of glazing that people do for this movie low-key has turned me off a little bit. I think that does add to the fact for why I don't really love it as much as everyone else does. And also, like I said, I love Spider-Man 1. I think I'm partial to Spider-Man 1. So when I'm comparing the two movies, everyone always says Spider-Man 2 is better. But honestly, for me and for my experience, I like Spider-Man 1 more. I think Spider-Man 1 is a perfect Spider-Man movie. It's a perfect origin story movie. And I think it's one of the best movies just in general. Spider-Man 2 is really fucking great. And they do the thing where they just jump straight into the action. He's Spider-Man the whole time. He's doing his Spider-Man thing. And I love all of that. I think the emotional story in this is really great. But I will say I don't think it's really aged super well. A lot of it is dealing with Peter and MJ's relationship. And I'm sorry, they're two of the most toxic motherfuckers of all time. I feel like part of the reason why I'm toxic today is because of this movie. Holy shit, dude. These are two bad people. I'm sorry, like these guys are assholes. It's not as evident in Spider-Man 2. It's more of an issue with Spider-Man 3, but like the core of the movie is their relationship, and whenever I go back to it, I just see all the flaws, and I'm like, these people are toxic, low key. They're fucking toxic. There are still great scenes in the movie. Doc Ock is one of the best Spider-Man villains, and I love it. I love Spider-Man 2. I can throw on Spider-Man 2 whenever and watch it, but I do like Spider-Man 1 more. All right, going on to the next one. Spider-Man 3 is a tough movie to rank. I loved it growing up. It was one of the first, or not one of, it was the first movie I've ever seen in IMAX, and that was a very special moment for me. That was a big deal for me. I loved Spider-Man 3 as well growing up. I feel like I have more memories associated with Spider-Man 3 than I do Spider-Man 2. Watched it a million times. One of the first movies I remember watching on like my iPod Touch, and I loved Spider-Man 3 growing up. Movie kind of sucks now, though. I'm not gonna lie. When I watched it, I go back and forth on this one a lot because I always see people shitting on it, but I get a little bit defensive because I'm like, I like Spider-Man 3. I grew up with it. I thought it was fun. I think there's issues with it, but like I can look past it. Until the most recent time I saw it in theaters, and I'm not gonna lie, this movie did not age well, even a little bit. The thing I was saying earlier about the toxic relationship with Peter and MJ is even more evident in this one. In this one, they are both genuinely shitty people. There's a moment where Peter straight up slaps MJ, and I'm like, I don't know if that's my Spider. I don't know if that's my Spider-Man. I don't know if that's my Spider-Man. And one thing that was funny about the last time I saw it, or when I saw it in theaters for the re-release, if I didn't know it was an action movie, I would have thought this shit was a straight up comedy with the way my theater was laughing at every single thing. It made it an enjoyable experience, but it definitely made me realize that, nah, Spider-Man 3 isn't good, actually. I think it's aged the worst out of all of them, and even my childhood nostalgia can't really mask the mediocrity of this movie anymore. So, like, fuck, man, I don't really know where I would put it. There's no F score here. Whoa. I guess I'm going to put it here because I do get some enjoyment out of it. I thought I was going to have an F ranking. If I had an F ranking, it would be here. But because that's not on here, I'm going to go C. I'm going to put it at a C because it is not a good movie. I do not think Spider-Man 3 is good, honestly, at all. But I do have fun with it, and I do have memories with it, so it gets the C ranking. And now we are getting into what I would consider the low point of the Spider-Man film franchise. In 2009 or 10, they announced that they would not be moving forward with the Spider-Man 4 and that they'd be rebooting it in 2012 with The Amazing Spider-Man. And at the time when The Amazing Spider-Man came out, I fucking loved it, bro. I was obsessed with The Amazing Spider-Man. I saw that movie like 3 times in the first week that it came out. I don't know what it was, but like The Amazing Spider-Man was just like amazing. I didn't even mean to do that. Ooh. I loved The Amazing Spider-Man when it came out. I loved Andrew Garfield. I loved Emma Stone. I had the fattest crush on Emma Stone because of this movie. You can ask any of my friends. I was like obsessed with her. I had her as like my wallpaper on my phone. Like I was... Emma Stone, if you're watching this, hi. Whenever I go back and rewatch this one specifically, I like it less and less and less. The Amazing Spider-Man, in my opinion, is the worst Spider-Man movie. And if anybody tries to defend or even say that it's not the worst movie, I'm sorry. I can't hear you out anymore. I'm done pretending like The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the worst Spider-Man movie because it sucks. Do not get me wrong, and I'll get into that in a second. But at least with that movie, it doesn't feel like a copy and paste. I swear to God, The Amazing Spider-Man 1 is the epitome of, can I copy your homework? But yeah, go ahead, but just make sure to change it up a little bit so it doesn't look the exact same. It sucks, bro. It's quite literally just a retelling of the first Spider-Man movie, except they throw in a mystery about his parents that honestly goes nowhere. Like, it gets picked up again in the second one, but ultimately that storyline goes nowhere. It's like a catalyst for this movie, and then they just forget about it. It's like they don't even touch on it. Same thing with Uncle Ben's murder, bro. Like, this movie he starts out as Spider-Man, like hunting down Uncle Ben's killer, trying to find him and shit. And then he just forgets about it. And then they just never touch on that again. He never like follows up on that. They just forget about it. This movie has like dementia, I swear to God, because it forgets what's been in movies before. It forgets what the movie's about. And it's just like so boring, bro. I'm sorry. The Amazing Spider-Man is so fucking boring, dude. And on top of that, it's so dark. And I don't mean just the tone, because it's also dark in tone for whatever reason. This is like during the Dark Knight, let's make everything super dark phase. But like literally the movie is dark. Like it takes place entirely at night. And that's just like the least appealing version of Spider-Man or setting for Spider-Man. Like why is it all at night? It'd be different if you had like the black suit or something, but it's not. It's like the first movie. It's just not entertaining. I can't watch this movie anymore. When I saw it in theaters, I wanted to walk out, honestly, because it is so fucking boring. It takes forever to get anywhere, in my opinion. And it's just also wait. And the worst part about it, I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. I think as an actor, he's great. And I think that he puts a lot into that role. But holy shit, do they not write him well at all. He is written so badly, and this is not my Peter Parker, bro. This is like cool guy Peter Parker. Like this guy is having trouble getting girls, but I don't believe that. Like with Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire, they're like awkward people. Like Tom Holland is objectively pretty good looking guy, but his energy is very awkward, so that feels more like Peter Parker to me. Andrew Garfield is so brooding and angsty, and it's like, dude, this guy's kind of hot. Like, what? Like, I'm sorry, that's just not my Peter Parker. That's not my Peter Parker. I think his Spider-Man is good, but whenever he's Peter, I just don't buy it. He's just kind of a dickhead, honestly, more than anything. Like, he's not even really, like, chill. He's just kind of a dick. Like, I don't really know. The Amazing Spider-Man, people will love to defend it. People love to call it underrated. And I think that's just the internet wanting to be different. They always want to just be like, ooh, this bad thing that everyone says is bad is actually good. It's not. I think Andrew Garfield can play a great Spider-Man. And I think in No Way Home, for example, he does a great job. But the movies that they had him in were not great. They wrote him so badly. That's not his fault. That's the movie's fault. And I just cannot watch this fucking movie anymore. So that's going in the D category. That's going in D. And I just want to say, if I had it, this would be going... Can I add it? Can I just add? Can I do this? Let me see. Okay, cool. Okay, we're gonna reorganize this a little bit. This is going here. This is an F movie. This movie fails. This movie fucking sucks. Do not like it. I'm going to keep Spider-Man 3 at C, thinking about it, because the next movie is probably going to go in a certain category that I don't want to spoil. Next is The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's not a good movie. This movie is the product of Sony trying to kickstart their own cinematic universe, and even at the time, it was so frustrating because all I wanted was Spider-Man to be in the MCU, and it felt like Sony was like, nah, that's never happening. And when this movie came out, I kind of just accepted that, and I was like, okay, he'll never be in the MCU. So I did enjoy it for what it was, but this movie is not good. It puts way too much shit into it, and it just becomes this like corporate fucking weird Spider-Man movie that just does not hit. That being said... I think that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets a lot more hate than it deserves. That's not me saying that it's a good movie before people go in the comments and start saying, what do you mean? You're defending it, saying it's a good movie? No, it is still not a good movie. And I'm very, very glad that they just gave up on this idea and threw him into the MCU because that's the best thing for the character. But I think there are elements about this movie that at least make it better than The Amazing Spider-Man. Off the bat, the suit, way better. I think that's a given. I think that's something everybody, even the biggest Amazing Spider-Man 2 haters, will admit. Like, the costume, great. 10 out of 10. And also on top of that, the setting or the tone or the time of fucking day is daylight. It's bright. It looks like Spider-Man. It's happy. It's jolly. It's bright. And that's what I want in a fucking Spider-Man movie. I don't want the whole thing to take place at night. I don't want the whole thing to be dark and brooding and like, ooh, I'm cool guy Peter Parker. Like, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is more fun than the Amazing Spider-Man 1. And then, I'm not gonna lie, I do like the ending when Gwen dies. I don't know what it is, but even this past time when I was watching this movie during the re-release, I got a little teary-eyed, bro. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it gets me every time, but it just does. And it gets more emotion out of me than the Amazing Spider-Man 1 ever could get. And I know it was spoiled in the trailers. I know it feels premature. There's opinions about why the Gwen death isn't good. But fuck, man. It breaks my heart every time. And the music that plays during it, bro, like... I don't think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is as bad as everyone says. I don't think it's a good movie. I think Dane DeHaan as Green Goblin is one of the worst casting decisions of all time. I think Rhino is so bad and so shoehorned in. Electro fucking sucks. He looks bad. His character's bad. He could have been good, but he's just not. The movie feels all over the place, and it's not a good Spider-Man movie. But it is better than The Amazing Spider-Man 1, so I'm going to put that straight in the D category. I'm liking this so far. I know people are going to disagree with me about The Amazing Spider-Man. And I don't, okay, and look, I know I'm going back to old shit, but like, I don't even know why people defend The Amazing Spider-Man 1 so hard. I really don't. I don't know what it is about that movie that people think is better than The Amazing Spider-Man 2, because it's not. And every time I say this, people are like, oh, why are you defending Spider-Man 2? I'm not defending that necessarily. I'm not defending it on the basis of it's a good movie, actually. No, it still sucks. Like, it's not good, but it's better than the first one. And I will die on that hill, bro. The first one actually sucks. It's actually a bad movie. Let's move on to the current iteration of Spider-Man, the Tom Holland MCU trilogy. This is a tough one because when I started out with this idea in mind, I knew immediately where I was going to put Spider-Man Homecoming. It was a very easy decision for me. I wanted to put it here, and let me just say why. A lot of people don't like the MCU Spider-Man. The biggest criticism is that he's Iron Boy Jr. He's Iron Man Jr. Look at him. He's not really Spider-Man. He's just Iron Boy Jr. Shut the fuck up. Obviously, he acts like an Iron Boy Jr. because he's a fucking high schooler. He is a high schooler who looks up to the Avengers, and I think that is so cool. Unlike The Amazing Spider-Man, which quite literally just copies the first movie, the MCU Spider-Man, specifically Spider-Man Homecoming, does something completely different. They actually put him in high school. They keep him in high school. He's existing in a world where the Avengers are already a thing, so he's growing up with these people as his heroes that he idolizes. It feels honestly very relatable to me. As a kid who grew up with the MCU and grew up with those heroes, it was kind of cool seeing Spider-Man geeking out and like being friends with the Avengers and learning how to be a hero based off of their like training and mentorship. I thought that was just such a cool idea. I don't understand that criticism at all personally, mainly because it's not like this is the only trilogy of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies we're gonna get. From the get-go, it seemed obvious that we were gonna get another trilogy of Spider-Man movies. It always felt like this was like his origin story era where he slowly becomes the person that everybody knows him to be. I don't really give a shit if he's Spider-Man off the bat. I know he's gonna get there eventually. So seeing him slowly become that person with the help of Tony Stark, I think that's awesome. I honestly think that's awesome. It doesn't feel shoehorned in. It feels natural, and I just like it, bro. I really don't get the fucking criticism, honestly. And I love Spider-Man Homecoming, dude. Like, when I first saw this movie, this is the only movie I've ever seen 2 times in one day. I saw it for the first time at like 9 a.m. and then I loved it so much I found a later showing later in the day and me and my friends went again. I saw it 2 times in one day because I just loved it so much. It's such a breath of fresh air and it's so nice having a fun Spider-Man, bro. He's just a kid, and it's just maybe because like I'm around the same age as Tom Holland and it makes it feel again more relatable to me, but I just really like this version of Spider-Man. I think it just works really well. That being said, though, when I rewatched it again in theaters, I didn't love it as much as I used to. I don't know if it's me getting older or what. I don't have the issue that like other people do still where it's Iron Boy Jr. I don't have that issue with it. I I feel like it didn't hit as hard. And maybe it's because I've seen it like a million times at this point. I don't really know what it is exactly, but it did not hit as hard. So originally, I was going to put it here. And I think it's kind of funny, by the way. No, I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. Originally, I was going to put it here because I thought it deserved to be here. It's one of my favorite MCU movies, one of my favorite Spider-Man movies. It's very rewatchable. But like I said, I didn't love it as much as I did before. And so, unfortunately, for Homecoming, I'm going to put it in the A tier. I think that's still a very respectable ranking. That's probably higher than most people would put that movie. But it's unfortunately no longer S tier for me, but I still love it. Still think it's a great movie. Now on to what I would consider like one of the most controversial Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man Far From Home. I did not like this fucking movie when I first saw it. I thought the timing of it was bad because it came out 2 months after Avengers Endgame. I thought the setting was terrible. I thought the ending of him being revealed as Peter Parker's Spider, I did not like Far From Home. Let me just say, I was the biggest hater and I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't for me. I was like, I want to see Spider-Man be in New York. I want to see Spider-Man being part of the neighborhood. I want to see Spider-Man being Spider-Man. I think the biggest issue though really is the timing of it. I think it came out at a really bad time. It came out, like I said, 2 months after Avengers Endgame, this big peak for the MCU, the ending that they've been working towards for 10 years. And it was not the right time for that movie to come out. So I was just a certified hater. I was like, fuck this movie. I'm not into this at all. They were teasing the multiverse and it didn't go anywhere. I didn't like that. I was like, you know what? I'm not into this movie. But after No Way Home, once we got what we always wanted, we got all the live action Spider-Man back, we got all the villains back, they opened up the multiverse, it was like this big event movie. It allowed me to go back to Far From Home with more of an open mind. And I'm now at a point where I can say Far From Home is underrated as fuck, dude. Honestly, I think everyone who hates that movie should go back and rewatch it because it is not that bad. It is not bad even at all, I would say. One thing that it has going for it that I really appreciated this most recent time watching it, the CGI looks so much better in this movie than most MCU movies though, because it's actually shot on location. They're actually in Europe. They're actually in these places filming these scenes, and you can actually tell. It just feels more realistic compared to like Avengers Infinity War, which is very fucking clearly shot on a green screen the entire time. Like, this movie feels a lot more real to me. And then on top of it, it is like a movie where he slowly learns how to become Spider-Man. There's no more Tony Stark. He doesn't have that mentor anymore. He has Nick Fury jumping down his fucking neck every 5 minutes. Like, he doesn't have anybody to look up to. The one person he does look up to is Mysterio, who turns out to be a villain. This is such a turning point for his career as Spider-Man. This is, to me, where he does become Spider-Man. And then on top of that, dude, there's just so many great scenes in this movie. The Mysterio illusion scene is great. The ending scene where he's like using his spider sense to like take down all the drones. Like, there are such good moments in this movie. The reveal of Mysterio and all his homies, like how they were connected to Tony Stark. I know people don't like that he's connected to Tony Stark, but I like that reveal, bro. It's really satisfying, honestly. Seeing people from like Iron Man 1 come back into it, I thought that was great. I thought that was a really smart way to do that. It's just fucking fun, dude. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm not looking for highbrow shit. I'm in this for a fun summer blockbuster movie, and it delivers, bro. It's a fun ass time. The one thing I didn't like about it the first time was that it's a Europe globe-trotting adventure, but again, now that we got No Way Home, no, this is fucking awesome. I love seeing Spider-Man go on summer vacation. I love seeing him go across Europe. I love seeing, this is, to me, the biggest Spider-Man movie. Like, there isn't one that's really on this scale. It's just a fun-ass time, bro. I'm sorry. Like, I like this movie, dude. And I can say that as someone who used to hate this movie. Like, I really, really hated this movie when it came out. But now, I just like it. I think it's a fun-ass time, dude. It's a really, really fun time. Also, on top of it, it really made me believe in the Zendaya and Tom Holland's chemistry, and it made me believe them as a couple way, way better than fucking Peter and MJ in the Sam Raimi trilogy, like a million times better, way more natural. They're just cute together, bro. It made me like Zendaya's character a lot more. For someone who was like essentially a background character in Homecoming, she really becomes her own person in this movie, and I love that. I just love that arc for her. I think it works really well. People want to dog on this movie all the time, but I like Far From Home. It's not S tier. It's not A tier necessarily, but it's definitely not. It's better than any of these fucking movies. So it's going to go firmly in B. And honestly, I could see myself putting it here one day. I think it could deserve that. But for right now, we're going to leave it in the B tier. And now time for the final movie in the Homecoming trilogy for the MCU Spider-Man No Way Home. I love this movie. It's fun. And there are a lot of people now who I think as like the wow factor has kind of like worn off, there's a lot of people who go back to this movie and like it less. Not me necessarily, because I was never really as hyped up on it as everybody else was. This movie is insane. The fact that it even got made blows my mind. This is a movie that it kind of just like worked out for them. They very clearly did not plan for this movie to happen in the very beginning, but it works so well. It's a natural progression for this story, and it's just a lot of fucking fun, bro. Like, they got so lucky, to be honest, that they stumbled their way into this movie and that it worked as well as it did. Does the story have issues? Yeah. It had issues from the beginning. People are acting like this movie sucks all of a sudden, and it's like, no, these are all things that were evident when it came out. Like, the story kind of makes no sense. I mean, you're telling me the only people that got transported to that universe are people that we've actually seen? Like, come on. There are things that just don't really work, but like, it honestly doesn't matter. It's one of those movies where it at least for me, it doesn't matter, because the best part about it is seeing all of these characters from past movies be brought into this universe for just a fun holiday movie. It's a movie that works a lot better than it should, and I know that people have criticism with it now, but I still think it's a great Spider-Man movie. It's a movie that I can throw on honestly whenever and just have a good time with it, and I think it's a satisfying conclusion to this era of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and it makes me really excited to see where they take this character going from here. So this one's going to go very firmly in the A tier, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. I think Spider-Man No Way Home is a great movie. And now time for the final two movies on my tier ranking. What are we at? 33 minutes? Ooh, shit, this has been going on for a while. These are the two only animated movies in the Spider-Man film franchise. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I fucking love Into the Spider-Verse. All the positive things I said about Spider-Man 1 can honestly be applied to Into the Spider-Verse. I think it is a perfect origin story movie. I think it's a perfect Spider-Man movie. I think it did amazing things for just the animation industry as a whole. This movie is fucking groundbreaking, and you can tell all animated movies after this have been trying to like copy that style. Into the Spider-Verse is such a good movie. I think the biggest thing and the best part about this movie is the fact that it actually made me believe in Miles Morales as Spider-Man. It's very hard to create a legacy character that lives up to the original. I think it's honestly almost impossible to do it. Most of the time, you're always going to be comparing them to their original counterpart, but Into the Spider-Verse made me believe in Miles Morales as Spider-Man. It made me believe him as his own person. It is such a good movie, and I feel like he has the most relatable version of Spider-Man for this generation. When I'm watching this movie, he feels like a kid I would know. He feels like me, dude. He's just worried about his kid problems. He loves music. He's just doing his fucking Spider-Man thing, bro. Like, Miles Morales is such a good character, and I think this is the best version of him. It's kind of like No Way Home, where this is a movie that I feel like had the odds stacked against it, but it ended up working really well. And just like Spider-Man 1, I would consider this one of the best superhero movies of all time, if not one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's just perfect in every single aspect. I'm putting this in the S tier. That's a very easy S tier for me, and I think anyone who disagrees with me is wrong and biased and stupid. And I think it's really funny, just want to say that my two S tier Spider-Man movies are like first movies. Originally, like I said, when this one was going to be here, it was going to be like, these are like the first movie in their respective like franchises, and they are in the S tier. And then look at this one down here. Do you see like a correlation? Do you see why I hate this movie so much? It's because these movies did the introduction to the character so well, and it really redefined who they are in media. This one didn't do anything for me. This didn't do anything, didn't have any lasting impact, didn't fucking change the game. It was just a piece of shit copy and paste. And then finally, Across the Spider-Verse. This is gonna go in A. That just is immediate. Drop that in the A tier. I love Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think it's an amazing movie. I think the animation is a lot better. I think the story happening here is very interesting and engaging. You really understand Miles's point of view and you understand like the hurt that he feels. I think there's great scenes in this movie. I would argue that the ending scene with all the different honestly, once they get to like the Spider-Man, what's it called? Spider Society, whatever the fuck it is. Once they get there, the movie's a fucking 10 out of 10 from that point on. Honestly, that whole section is just incredible. That I could rewatch that section specifically over and over again for the rest of my life. It's fucking perfect. But the two things that kind of keep me from liking it more than the first one or even putting it in the S tier is I think the pacing is not as good in this movie. It feels very long. And on top of it, the ending being a cliffhanger is not very satisfactory. I am excited to see what they're going to do with Beyond the Spider-Verse, and I'm not necessarily mad at it, but it does kind of put like an asterisk on it for me. I can see this movie going up to S tier. I think once the third one is out, it'll be like a retrospect thing where it's like kind of like Far From Home, where I enjoy the previous movie more once the new one comes out. But as of right now, because of the cliffhanger ending, I can't put it in S tier. It's not a perfect movie yet. Like, I think I need to see the third movie to really know if I love this movie as much as I think I do. So yeah, that is my ranking, my tier list ranking of all of these Spider-Man movies. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me. I feel like I didn't really touch on the Spider-Verse movies as much as I wanted to, but that's because those are the only ones I didn't watch in the re-release. I just know, because I've seen these movies a million times, that I would put this one here and I would put this one here. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I will see you next time. I'm like, is there another tier list I'm doing? But I don't know. Just subscribe and well, you'll see if I do another tier list.